Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I see you came back, and so did I. So it is Monday, July 20th, and it is 10:09 p.m. I'm getting a little bit of a late start tonight. I had a lot of stuff to do, and I've been researching a lot. So anyway, let's get into the news. And I know some of you have asked me whether I am going to be covering Q. I'm actually thinking about doing just that. It seems to me that a lot of you would like me to continue with Q. I'm not against Q. I think that it's a very valuable source of information. It's just I'm uncomfortable with a few things. And, you know, I think that you would much rather me say that than, than not. So anyway, I am considering that. I'm just really thinking about it cautiously. But let me know in the comments if you would like me to continue to cover Q. Just put cover. If you don't want me to cover, say no. So either cover or no alone in a sentence will in the comments, and I will take a consensus that way. All right, now these are a couple of videos that we're not going to watch right now because I don't think that would be right. They are from a news source called Israeli News Live. It's a guy that he did live in Florida, but he now is moving, and these videos are about the asteroid that I was talking about. I don't think I could do it quite the justice that he does, and this is where I got the source of this, although there are other people talking about it as well. So I'm going to leave that pinned to the first comment so that you guys who would like to check this out, and I really highly suggest that you do. It's interesting. It's like everything. You have to just kind of put it in the back of your mind and think about it and see whether this is something that, is meaningful and that you want to act on or not. But apparently this guy believes that there are asteroids coming this fall, starting in September, that will hit Earth. And, I actually believe that there will at some point be asteroids or space, whatever, I don't know what you call them. They're space rocks? I don't know. But I do believe that they will hit Earth in probably the near future, if not a little longer. But it's kind of like that earthquake in California. We all know it's coming. We just don't know when. But anyway, I would suggest that you check them out, and I'll leave them pinned to the first comment, and I promise I will remember. I see out of the corner of my eye my cat wanting to get into trouble, searching for trouble. So anyway, maybe I might have to put on pause and do a little kitty intervention, but we'll just keep going until that time occurs. Now, I do have some people to thank. The following donated via coffee: Deneen, which is an interesting name. I have a friend, an old friend actually, called Daneen, D-A-N-E-E-N. But Deneen and Barbara Hess, also Kylie Goodman. Thank you guys so much. And also picked up a new Patreon subscriber, Monica Fry. And although I didn't write it down, I did get a couple things in the mail today, which is always exciting for me. And the first one is from, he goes by the name Keck Ranger, and he does not want me to use his real name, so I'm not going to, but he sent me a little note and a donation. And also, a name that you'll all recognize is Teddy Legacy. Now, he is... he's on here, and no, actually that's not his name. His name is not Teddy Legacy, although that's how I read it when I look at his last name, but it's Legace, I believe. That's how, because last time he said, that's not how you pronounce my name. But anyway, he sent me a donation, and yeah, a couple bumper stickers. I guess they're bumper stickers or car stickers or whatever. And thank you very much, Teddy. I know you've been a long-time listener, and I appreciate that you're still with me. So thank you, and thank you for that Well, I don't even think he did put a note in here. He didn't put a note. He just put in the bumper stickers and a donation. So anyway, there you go. Now, we're going to go on with the news now. All right. So, I love this. I love it. And I think it would be a fantastic idea. Should Donald Trump Jr. run for governor of New York? Yes, of course he should. That would be awesome. I mean, would that not be awesome? I think so. If I was in New York, I'd vote for him. So anyway, that's just, I don't know where that's coming from or if that is something that he's actually interested in. Wouldn't surprise me in the future to see him run for president. So he probably wants to get a little bit of political experience under his belt, if this did in fact come from him. So I hope it did. I really hope it did, because I think that would be awesome. All right, and let's go to this. Emerging infectious diseases. This is from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Says, let's look at this abstract here. I think that is where they got the information. There were 3 influenza pandemics in the 20th century, and there has been one so far in the 21st century. Local, national, and international health authorities regularly update their plans for mitigating the next influenza pandemic in light of the latest available evidence on the effectiveness of various control measures in reducing transmission. Here, we review the evidence based on the effectiveness of non-pharmaceutical personal protective measures and environmental hygiene measures in non-healthcare settings and discuss their potential inclusion in pandemic plans. Although mechanistic studies support the potential effect of hand hygiene or face masks, listen to this, evidence from 14 randomized controlled trials of these measures did not support a substantial effect on transmission of laboratory confirmed influenza. We similarly found limited evidence on the effectiveness of improved hygiene and environmental cleaning. We identified several major knowledge gaps regarding further research, most fundamentally an improved characterization of the modes of person-to-person transfer. See, now they're claiming that COVID does not spread easily on surfaces, and they're saying that masks are not effective, which we would know if we read the outside of the packaging on the masks. It says it's basically ineffective to protect you from COVID. So they are now at least admitting it. So I guess that's good. However, the damage is done already. It's a little late. Okay, now let's look at this. Now, I am not going to play this to make fun of Kanye because, first of all, he's bipolar. He's got a mental illness, and I don't know if you've had contact with anyone bipolar. I have. I had a very close friend who was bipolar, and she was convinced by someone whose motives are questionable to go off her medication. And so she did. And she ended up diving for seashells in Lake Ontario in, I think it was either October or November, when she could have easily died from the cold. Anyway, so I have, when they're taking their medication, they're perfectly fine. But when they're off their medication for any reason, or their medication needs adjustment or what have you, they can get and sound extremely crazy. They get wild ideas. They go from manic to depressive. And anyway, so I'm not making fun of him, but I want to show you this because he's in trouble and somebody needs to help him and do something. It says Kanye breaks down and cries, claims he almost killed his daughter, goes full WTF on his first campaign stop. Now I want to play this for you guys, and I don't know, I think those of us that are believers should really pray for him to get the help that he needs, because in Hollywood it's kind of hard to get the help that you really need. without people having ulterior motives. Okay, so let's look at this. It's on VidMax. And
when Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people.
Y'all, we leaving right now.
We have someone who isn't afraid of anyone and in honor of God, and that is a 132 IQ genius that literally went to the hospital because his brain was too big for his skull. That literally, absolutely no clapping. That went to Adidas when it was a $15 billion organization losing $2 billion and ended up at $62 billion before COVID. That went to the stock market with Gap and whose net worth went from 3.3 billion to 5 billion.
See, nothing he's saying
now,
is making any sense.
Friends, I only have one superhero friend right now. Who is that? Okay, so we have one member of the superhero Avenger team so far.
Now I'm going to skip forward because this is 8 minutes.
But we're not excited. That didn't have the children. That didn't have that child. That have never got to experience the level of joy that I experienced having a child. But even if my wife were to divorce me after this speech, she brought North into the world, even when I didn't want to. She stood up and she protected that child. You know who else protected the child? Who do you think might have protected the child? 43 years ago, who do you think protected the child? My mom saved my life. My dad wanted to abort me. My mom saved my life. There would have been no Kanye West because my dad was too busy.
Now, what he said is, I almost killed my daughter. And he's talking about abortion here, and he is making sense there. He's saying his mother protected him, his father didn't want him, wanted her to abort him. And, yes, that's emotional. And he's talking about that he wanted to abort his daughter, and his wife wouldn't stand for that. And so he's saying, I almost killed my daughter. Now, I just feel bad because there's so much raw emotion there, and it's real. That's real emotion. He's not putting that on. But it's coming from a place of vulnerability, of, he's obviously experiencing some mental health issues. And I noticed also with his hair, it's kind of cut very oddly. Like, a lot of black men have the cuts in their hair. And I think a lot of times it's very attractive. But he's kind of it's kind of all over the place. So, kind of looks like he took a razor to his own head. But anyway, I wanted to play that for you. I mean, even the fact that he is wanting to run for president shows that, there's something wrong there. And I didn't play that to make fun of him at all. I think it's important that we realize that he's vulnerable, he's not well, and those who are managing him, his manager, his wife, whatever, should be getting him help and pulling him back and saying, look, come on, we need to get you some help. So anyway, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think it's sad. I think it's very sad. All right, let's go back now and go on. Now, I'm sure you've all heard this by now, this story. Man suspected of killing New Jersey judge's son dead of self-inflicted gunshot. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? And this is the judge that's looking into Jeffrey Epstein, or was looking into it. Anyway, we'll find out here. The suspect in the shooting at the New Brunswick, New Jersey home of federal judge Esther Salas has been found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The gunman was identified, but actually he was dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but he died of COVID. I'm sorry, that's not funny and didn't belong here, but I just slipped out. The gunman was identified as Roy Den Hollander, a self-described anti-feminist and attorney with a focus on men's right, according to multiple reports. It is not yet clear what Hollander's motive was. However, New York ABC 7 reported that investigators believe Salas's husband, Mark Andrel, a criminal defense attorney, may have been the target. The shooter killed the couple's 20-year-old son, Daniel. That is absolutely heartbreaking. 20 years old, a student at Catholic University, and wounded Andrel, who is in critical but stable condition. The gunman arrived at Salas's house dressed as a FedEx delivery person. We are aware of the media reports and are fully cooperating with investigating authorities, a spokesman for FedEx told CNN. Salas had presided over a number of high-profile cases, including the sentencing of a Newark gang leader, and was recently appointed to oversee a lawsuit against Deutsche Bank over alleged failure to properly screen the finances of Jeffrey Epstein. And it seems where Jeffrey Epstein is involved, suicide and tragic things seems to follow, kind of like being friends with Clinton. New Brunswick Mayor Francis Womack told reporters on Sunday that he was not aware of any recent threats to Salas. As a judge, she had threats from time to time, but everyone is saying that recently there had not been any, Womack said. So, yeah, this is very, very sad news. Not completely surprising if she was looking into, Deutsche Bank's failure to screen the finances of Jeffrey Epstein. Who knows? Or her husband was also a lawyer, and could be that he was the target. But why kill the son? Why do that? That's just it seems to me that it was quite personal. If it wasn't quite personal, why would you kill the son? If it was just a political target or something, someone you wanted dead, would you really kill the son? I don't know. Maybe, but just seems like an odd story to me. And I think that there's probably going to be a little bit more come out about it. I don't know that for a fact, but I would think, because when things don't make sense, usually there's a reason why they don't make sense. So let's go back now and see what else we have, because we do have a lot to get through tonight. And let's look at this. Biden again. Trending Politics has this to say: Biden staffer shares disgusting meme mocking cops as worse than pigs. Yeah. So let's come down here. A staffer who now works for Democratic presidential Joe Biden's campaign is in hot water after she tweeted out a disgusting graphic that urged people to stop calling police officer pigs because it was insulting to the actual animal. Videographer Sarah Pearl, who previously worked for Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders' failed presidential campaign, alleged in the meme that pigs are highly intelligent and empathetic animals who would never racially profile you. Actually, that's true, that pigs are very intelligent. Apparently, they have an IQ. Well, I don't know if pigs have IQs, but they are equivalent in intelligence to an 8-year-old. They are extremely intelligent animals, actually. So Pearl also retweeted a reply to her post from another person that said pigs are sweet, intelligent, and compassionate, but conversely, police officers are monsters who don't deserve to be called pigs. Below is an image of her tweet. We don't need to read that because we just did. The presidential campaign staffer also previously called for law enforcement to be defunded immediately. And after several Dallas police officers were killed in 2016 by a sniper who wanted to kill white people, Pearl dinged the National Rifle Association for tweeting its condolences in that case, but not for prior shootings. Of course, they respond to the officers, but not to the previous shootings. The Biden campaign did not reply to Fox News' request for comment, although the campaign confirmed it received the request for comment. Fox News also reached out to Pearl for comment. Pearl did not reply, but she deleted all of these tweets shortly afterward. The Trump campaign released a statement responding to the disgusting comments by criticizing Biden for employing a staffer who uses the most vile, inflammatory, and incendiary language to target the brave men and women who risk their own lives to keep us safe. Trump campaign advisor Bob PATRIOTIC remarked Biden's campaign is historically running against the grain of support for these frontline heroes. How can Joe Biden look in the faces of grieving law enforcement families whose loved ones died in the line of duty? He asked. Never in history has a major party campaign so angrily fanned the flames of hatred against our nation's heroes. And that's exactly what they're doing, is fanning the flames. I think they enjoy it. I think they enjoy sitting back and seeing the chaos that they cause. There's something a little bit sadistic and psychopathic about that. This comes after Biden recently said he would redirect funding from police departments. Joe Biden said in an interview Wednesday that some funding should absolutely be redirected from police amid calls for some in his party to defund the police in the wake of the protests across the country. Biden's campaign has said he does not support defunding the police, but in this interview with activist Addie Barkan, the presumptive Democratic nominee said that police forces don't need surplus military equipment, saying this is what leads them to become the enemy in a community. I don't agree with that. I guess, as the criminals are becoming more and more sophisticated, the police need to be better armed than the criminals on the street, right? It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. So, yeah. But do we agree that we can redirect some of this police funding? Barkan asked Biden. Yes, absolutely, said the former vice president. Biden went on to call for police reforms. One of the things that we also need to be doing is fundamentally changing the way we deal with our prison system, he said. It should be a rehabilitation system, not a punishment system. We're going to make sure you're qualified for every single right you had before you went to prison if you served your time. So there's Joe Biden, not somebody I would ever hope for, unless not someone I would ever vote for. I don't know why I said hope for. I would never vote for him unless I was dead, because that Republicans tend to vote for Democrats when they die. I'm not sure why that is, but it happens. All right. Well, let's go back, shall we? Certainly. Now, this says it's important, so I bet it is. Okay. Oh, yes. Let's see here. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is formally being listed as a criminal suspect by high-level Ukraine government officials in a major case involving his son, Hunter. I don't know about you, but this news makes me happy. He deserves that. Let me make this bigger for you tiny phone people.
That Joe Biden finds himself in more hot water this week. Just confirmed, a Ukrainian court ordered Joe Biden to be formally listed in a criminal case. The crime? The alleged firing of Ukraine's former Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin in exchange for dropping an investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and the company for which he was a board member, Burisma Oil. Shokin formally called for an investigation into his firing back in February of 2020, claiming the Ukrainian government at the time relieved Shokin of his post in exchange for $1 billion in loan guarantees promised by Biden, a bribe Biden himself admitted to doing.
Prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
But at the time Shokin called for this case back in February, the courts listed one of the defendants as an unnamed American, an individual widely understood to be Joe Biden, Obama's Ukraine point man. But Biden was never formally named. Now, the courts have ruled it is improper to conceal Biden's name and that there is sufficient evidence to proceed with an investigation. The ruling cannot be appealed. Another key development in this story is the release of a series of telephone conversations that has garnered major questions. Andrei Derkach, a member of parliament in Ukraine, in a press conference Tuesday released what he says appear to be voice recordings of then Secretary of State John Kerry, Vice President Joe Biden, and then President of Ukraine Poroshenko, discussing the Burisma case and discussing the removal of Viktor Shokin. Neither Kerry, Biden, nor Poroshenko have affirmed the verity of these recordings. The recordings appear to have been leaked from government officials and whistleblowers, but are currently being verified. Ukrainian President Zelensky stated he anticipates more developments over the course of the summer and says the case could qualify as high treason. Candidate Biden has yet to respond to this latest development. Shanawian, One American News, the White House.
She does a really good job, I think, and that is extremely good news to me. Anyway, so he is formally listed as a criminal suspect by high-level Ukraine government officials. Woohoo! Yeah. So, but I'm sure people will still support him because a lot of people hate Trump so much. It's just, oh, well, we'll vote for Biden. Anybody but Trump. Which is really, really, it's like, if we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. Now, why would you poke a hole in the boat that keeps you afloat? I mean, why would you not support the president and want the president to do well? Why? I mean, that just goes against the grain, because by wanting him to fail, you want America to fail. I don't get that. I really don't. You know, I didn't particularly like Obama. I didn't agree with any of his policies, and just didn't like him as a person. I thought that he was very greasy, if you know what I mean, in a used car salesman sort of way. Not that I'm trying to insult any used car salesman, but he just seemed like he was seedy to me. But I didn't want him to fail. I didn't want him to fail because him failing would mean America failed. Now, if I knew then what I know now, you know, he really was failing. He really was selling us down the river. Unbelievable, actually. All right, now let's go on and look at the next item. And here it is. Report, Uyghur slave labor produces cheap made in China masks. Well, isn't that special? Doesn't surprise me. Shouldn't surprise you either. A report published by the New York Times on Sunday revealed that forced labor from the Uyghur concentration camps of Xinjiang province is part of the production chain for at least 17 Chinese companies that produce medical masks and other protective equipment. Now, we should not be buying masks from them. I don't know if we still are. Hopefully not. But we shouldn't be, because first of all, you know, I don't think that we should be buying anything that is produced by slave labor. I really don't. I think that special pains should be taken to prevent that from happening. But there's other reasons why, because their quality is less than desirable. Even if they weren't made by slave labor, the quality is just not there. All right. The Uyghurs are a mainly Muslim minority group living in the Xinjiang region. The Chinese government declared them a security risk several years ago and began a program of incarceration and surveillance that led to the construction of concentration camps so large they can be seen from orbit. The Chinese Communist Party insists these camps are vocational training schools. Right. We can trust what they have to say, can't we? And most of the inhabitants are intending voluntary programs to improve their job prospects. But human rights groups around the world maintain the Uyghurs are prisoners subject to brutal re-education program and forced to work in Chinese factories. The Australian Strategic Policy Institute published a study in March that named 83 companies, both Chinese and foreign, that are directly or indirectly benefiting from compulsive Uyghur labor programs. Most of the masks made by the 17 companies determined by the New York Times to use forced Uyghur labor are sold domestically, but some of them are evidently shipped and sold overseas. We traced a shipment of face masks to a medical supply company in the U.S. state of Georgia from a factory in China's Hubei province, where more than 100 Uyghur workers had been sent. The workers are required to learn Mandarin and pledge their loyalty to China at a weekly flag-raising ceremonies, the New York Times reported. The New York Times disputed claims by Chinese officials that the Uyghurs are voluntarily learning useful skills and agreeing to work for Chinese companies, noting that quotas on the number of workers put in the labor program and the penalties faced by those who refuse to cooperate make the program coercive. Not to mention that they have pictures of these prisoners being blindfolded and chained. Yeah, that doesn't sound voluntary to me. Call me crazy, but I just don't think that sounds voluntary. As an earlier report from New York Times made clear, Chinese officials might be telling international critics that their forced labor schemes are benevolent social programs. The impoverished residents of Xinjiang are eager to join, but intercepted Chinese Communist Party described the Uyghurs as lazy, lax, slow, sloppy, freewheeling, and individualistic layabouts who must be forced to renounce their selfish ideas and put to work against their will for the greater good. Always for the greater good. Yeah. That's absolutely disgusting. All right, now let's go back because we have more. We always have more. Now, let's look at this. It's a little bit blurry. I'm going to try and make it bigger here for my tiny phone people because I don't like to make it any more difficult than it needs to be for you. But let's look at this. Disease deaths per day worldwide. So at the top of the list is tuberculosis. 3,014 people die every day from tuberculosis. Hepatitis B is the next, pneumonia is the next, HIV, malaria, shigellosis, rotavirus, seasonal flu, norovirus, whooping cough, typhoid, cholera, meningitis, measles, measles, rabies, yellow fever. Oh, wait, look at this. All the way down here, 56 people in the whole world die every day from COVID-19. You mean all these things are more deadly? Yellow fever, rabies, measles, meningitis, cholera, typhoid, whooping cough, norovirus, seasonal flu, rotavirus, shigellosis, malaria, HIV, pneumonia, hepatitis B, tuberculosis. All those are more deadly. But let's look at this. Yeah, way down here is COVID-19. This is what collapsed the world economy. And make no mistake about it, I don't know if the economy is going to bounce back. A lot of people are saying no, because there's no end in sight to this. A lot of businesses are never going to rebound. I know around this area, a lot of businesses have gone under. Now, I don't know what it's like where you live, but I would imagine that you're seeing a lot of closed up businesses where you live as well. So, yeah. So these are the things that are less. Sleeping sickness, Ebola, SARS, chickenpox, hepatitis A, dengue fever, whatever that is. I don't know how to pronounce that, but anyway, yeah, so like there's a whole lot of things more deadly than coronavirus, and yet we never shut the world down for anything else, did we? Nope. Well, TB, I don't know. I I don't know if, have they ever, well, they used to, I know in the United States, they'd have sanatoriums where they would send TB patients, but they've never locked down the whole world. They didn't during the Spanish flu, and a heck of a lot more people died then. So, yeah. In fact, the number of deaths per coronavirus are fewer than that caused by the flu shot. There are more deaths from the flu shot than there are from CV. So, yeah, and for that, we're all afraid, very, very afraid, and have to wear masks and social distance, which is harming the children. They say that this social distancing is causing irreparable harm to children, and that actually the health effects of being socially distant and having to distance yourself from loved ones and friends and so forth is worse on your health than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So I heard that from a doctor, and it was on a YouTube video, but I'm not sure if I could even find it again. But anyway, let's look at this. This makes things make a lot more sense. 2020 conservative. All right, Bill Gates. Vaccines are the best way to depopulate. You don't say, Bill Gates. You don't say. Yeah. This should surprise no one. Vaccines are one of the biggest public health victories in human history. People are exceedingly reliable on it for eradicating illness and reducing the incidence of new infections of diseases such as polio, diphtheria, measles, rubella, rotavirus, and many others. However, despite this public health success, irrational anti-vaccine sentiments based on ignorance and fear-mongering continue to exist. They do more harm than good. Vaccines and general improvements in health care availability increase the living standards of individuals, but what Bill Gates is trying to say here is opposite to what we think, or what the general people think about vaccines. Now, I have never been pro, although I've been vaccinated. I had to be. In fact, to immigrate to the United States, I had to be vaccinated. I had to have them all. So, and I was vaccinated against something when I went to work in Central America. So I don't even remember what it was. Bill Gates expounds on how we must consent to a kill the humans strategy to save the planet from the carbon dioxide we make. You know, humans, all living things produce carbon dioxide and always have. So yeah. It's not a new thing that some parents wouldn't want their children to be vaccinated. They say that it is just wrong to inject their kids with a virus, no matter what state it may be. They perceive it as making their children sick. Physicians say otherwise, as they believe that getting vaccinated will make one's immune system aware of viruses, so that when it comes into contact with the body, our white blood cells, soldiers, would know how to defend them. And for years, the doctors have been quite successful in convincing many people of this premise, but now a recent study puts to light a not-so-new problem with vaccines, and it's mainly because its adjunct, aluminum, may be doing more harm than good. Chemicals that are commonly used in the production of vaccines, according to the CDC, are done so to improve the effectiveness of the vaccine. Adjuvants, I don't even know how to pronounce that. I know what it means. Like aluminum, one of the most common are a component of vaccines that potentiates or the immune response to an antigen. The adjunct is basically used to invoke the desired immune response. Aluminum has been added to vaccines for approximately 90 years, and since then, a lot of controversy, especially in recent years, has emerged. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right, so you know what? I'm not going to read all that because we know a lot about vaccines, right? I think we all do. If you're awake and have been for more than 5 minutes. You probably know all the controversy surrounding it. But let's listen to this, and then we can determine whether we feel safe taking whatever's coming down the pipe.
Sanjay Gupta, MD, CNN Saturday and Sunday morning, 7:30 Eastern.
$10 billion over the next 10 years to make it the year of the vaccines. What does that mean exactly?
Well, over this decade, we believe unbelievable progress can be made, both inventing new vaccines and making sure they get out to all the children who need them. We could cut the number of children who die a year from about 9 million to half of that if we have success on it. And the benefits there in terms of reducing sickness, reducing the population growth.
Reducing the population, did you hear that?
Reducing the population growth.
Pardon the language.
Reducing the population growth. Reducing the population growth. It really allows the society a chance to take care of itself once you've made that intervention.
There's been a lot of scrutiny of vaccines recently, specifically childhood vaccines. There's been a lot of news about, is there a connection with autism, for example? What do you make of all that? Dr. Wakefield wrote a paper about this saying that he thought there was a connection. And there was lower vaccination rates as a result for a period of time in Britain than the United States. What are your thoughts?
Well, Dr. Wakefield has been shown used absolutely fraudulent data. He had a financial interest in some lawsuits. He created a fake paper. The journal allowed...
Wait a minute. He had some fake financial interest. Well, what does Bill Gates have? He doesn't have any financial interest in making sure that people get vaccinated? Really? And this guy doesn't even have a medical degree. He doesn't have a medical degree. He's practicing medicine, essentially. I mean, well, maybe not, because he's paying other people to develop these vaccines, but he admitted it right there, that it's to reduce the population growth. He just said it out of his own mouth.
To run. All the other studies were done, showed no connection whatsoever, again and again and again.
That is a lie.
So it's an absolute lie.
You're an absolute lie.
Because the mothers who heard that lie, many of them didn't have their kids take either pertussis.
And how do you explain that during this whole lockdown that a lot of children didn't get their vaccinations? Because I know they were only doing things that were absolutely medically necessary. And because I know my stepfather's surgery was put off, I have no other people whose surgeries were put off. They were only doing things if it was an absolute necessity. Even with my cat, taking my cat to the vet when it had, it was in bad shape because it had, it's the ball joint in the hip was absolutely eroded away. It's something that cats get anyway. And the first vet said no, because we can only do something if it's absolutely necessary. And I thought, what do you mean? If this isn't medically necessary, I don't know what is. And I went to the next vet who said, absolutely, because without it, your cat, first of all, would be in absolute misery. Second of all, it would reduce the cat's life span. So, they did it. But that's the whole thing, is that people are being denied. Like even now, the doctor's offices aren't really open. They're doing telemedicine, which is not that helpful. And I need a cortisone shot in my shoulder for bursitis and tendonitis. And I can't get any doctor to do that. They'll call me on the phone, but you can't give a shot over the phone. And so anyway, my whole point in all that was that during this, a lot of kids didn't get vaccinated and the infant mortality rate plummeted. It plummeted. Now, I think there's a correlation. They weren't getting their vaccines. So I don't trust this guy. I really don't know too many people that do, but and he's gets this creepy smile on his face that kind of does me in.
Measles vaccine, and their children are dead today, and
he's fear mongering. I think we've heard enough about that. I just wanted you guys to hear what he said about it's to reduce the world population. That's what it's for. To reduce, not to save lives. He didn't say that, did he? It's to save lives. He said it's to reduce the world population. Yeah. Well, good luck with that, Bill Gates. All right, now let's come down to the next item, and this from China. China orders Christians to take down images of Jesus from their homes. The Chinese Communist Party has continued its program of Sinicization of religion. And, you know, the communists don't agree with religious purposes. They want everyone to depend on the party and not on a deity. Chinese communist authorities have ordered poor Christian villagers to remove Christian images from their home and replace them with portraits of Chairman Mao and President Xi Jinping, or risk losing their welfare benefits. The Chinese Communist Party has continued its program of okay, I said it the first time, I don't know. I can't, sometimes I have trouble with words. Of religion by channeling religious fervor in the country toward the party rather than God. The Christian Post reported this weekend. In May, an official in the eastern province of Shandong raided the home of a local Christian and hung pictures of Mao Zedong and Xi Jinping on the wall in place of Christian images. These are the greatest gods. If you want to worship somebody, these are the ones, the official told them. Yeah. So that's what is happening in China, and it always has been that way. Well, since the Communist Party has been there, they don't want any religion there. To tell you the truth, they want the leader of the country to be the deity, and that's the only deity you're allowed to have or believe in or have faith in. All right, let's go back now, because we can, and let's go on. Yeah, this is bizarre as well. Disney bans eating and walking at parks because guests can't wear masks while they eat. So you can't walk and eat. A vaccine will be ready in 3 to 4 months. What are these miserable idiots going to do with all these stupid restrictions and new things they invented for this pandemic? Disney World has banned guests from eating and drinking while walking around the park after people were using the loophole to avoid wearing face masks. Less than 10 days after reopening, the theme park has updated its face mask policy, which now explicitly warns people to stay in place and away from others if they remove their mask to eat. The policy explains, Please bring your own face covering and wear them at all times, except when dining or swimming. It has since been updated to warn you may remove your face covering while actively eating or drinking, but you should be stationary and maintain appropriate physical distancing. So there you go. You can't walk and eat at Disney World anymore. Disneyland, Disney World, all the same, just different places. I have been to the one in Florida, and I'm not sure if that's Disneyland or Disney World, but I've been there several times because my parents used to go down to Florida in the winter. So, and they took me because I was their kid and I was young. So anyway, yeah, so I've been there several times, and to Disney World. I think it's Disneyland in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. All right, not that it really matters. All righty, let's go back now. I want to get through as much as I can. Okay. And Trump is vowing more deployment of more federal forces to major cities, and I personally don't have a problem with it, and I certainly wouldn't have a problem with it if I was in one of those cities, because I would much rather have law and order than what I've seen from all the, the TikTok videos and YouTube videos and Periscope and everything else. The streets don't look too friendly. So President Donald Trump on Monday said he would send more federal forces into America's major cities to help quell increasing violence. Look at what's going on, all run by Democrats, all run by very liberal Democrats, all run really by the radical left. He's right. Trump said, referring to the ongoing violence, we can't let this happen in our cities. He's right. He's right. Trump spoke to reporters after meeting in the Oval Office with congressional Republican leaders, the president referring to the rising crime in America's biggest cities, specifically naming New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, and Baltimore. He praised the federal forces in Portland that moved quickly against rioters, looters, and anarchists. They grab them. A lot of people in jail. They're leaders. These are anarchists. These are not protesters. These are people who hate our country, and we're not going to let it go forward, Trump said. He noted that crime in New York City was up 348%, specifically citing the story of a Brooklyn woman who was fatally shot 8 times after she asked a man to stop shooting firecrackers in the streets. That's not our civilization. That's not about us, Trump said. The president also cited the number of deaths in Chicago. Would you say they need help after this weekend, he asked, referring to the latest shooting numbers over the weekend. Trump spoke in response to reports that the Department of Homeland Security is preparing to deploy about 150 agents to the city of Chicago. He speculated that police officers were restricted from doing their jobs by Democrat leaders who were actually afraid of the anarchists in their cities. Yes, they are weak, but they are afraid of these people, he said. Trump said he would not stand by and watch the wave of crime hit America's cities. I'm going to do something that I can tell you, he said. In the case of Portland, Trump noted protesters were tearing apart the city for 51 days before he decided to act after state and local leadership failed to restore order. The president said that it was just one more example of how Democrats would fail to protect the country if former Vice President Joe Biden won the election. You know what? If Biden got in, that would be true for the country. The whole country would go to hell, and we're not going to let it go to hell. Well, I think that Trump is right on with that. I think there needs to be law and order, because once that breaks down, everything breaks down. So I can't see anything negative in him doing that, although the left is quite upset about it. But they're going to be upset about anything, really. I mean, if they can't find something to be upset, they invent something. So let's go back and look at this. Now here's something else that very good. I think that this is very, very positive. White House official: Trump will prosecute sacrilegious acts of vandalism against Catholic churches and statues. President Trump will always demand law and order in American communities and ensure that criminals causing these sacrilegious acts will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Now, this is today's news, hot and fresh. And, we've been hearing a lot about damages to churches, and specifically a lot is happening overseas in Europe. A lot of churches have been desecrated and burnt to the ground. It's absolutely despicable. Washington, D.C., July 20th, 2020, President Donald Trump has promised to bring those caught vandalizing Catholic churches and statues to justice. According to the Daily Caller, a White House official has stated that the criminals who have carried out the violent attacks will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The unnamed official told the online conservative news magazine that President Trump had joined the Catholic community in solidarity during the wave of church burnings and other desecrations. Rest assured, President Trump will always demand law and order in American communities and ensure that criminals causing these sacrilegious acts will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, he said. Across the United States, Catholic churches, statues, and even gravestones have been defaced or destroyed since mob violence erupted across the U.S. in the wake of the May 25th death of Minneapolis bouncer George Floyd in police custody. Black Lives Matter activist Shaun King called for the removal of statues, stained glass, and other artwork with depictions of Jesus Christ and his mother Mary as white On June 22nd, St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York was vandalized by two teenage Black Lives Matter activists on May 30th. Anaya Diaz, 18, and a 17-year-old who could not be named because of her age were charged with criminal mischief. The St. Gabriel Mission Church, founded by St. Junipero Serra, near what is now Los Angeles, almost 250 years ago, was badly damaged by fire on July 11th, following the desecration of the saint statue in Los Angeles and in San Francisco on June 19th. After Catholics prevented activists from destroying St. Junipero's statue in Ventura, California, the city council approved a decision to remove it to a private location. Queen of Peace Catholic Church in Ocala, Florida, was also damaged on July 11th when 24-year-old Stephen Anthony Shield plowed his minivan into the building and allegedly set fire to the foyer with gasoline. A statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary outside Cathedral Prep School and Seminary in Queens, New York, was defaced by graffiti reading "Idol" on July 10th. Another statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary, this one outside of St. Peter's Church in the Dorchester neighborhood of Boston, was damaged on July 11th when unknown vandal set fire to plastic flowers in its hands. Catholic Cemetery in Providence, Rhode Island was attacked on July 15th by 26-year-old Kavion Gomera. The young man allegedly spray-painted swastikas and anti-Catholic graffiti on the headstones of several Dominican friars and a central cross, as well as burning a number of American flags in the graveyard. He is also accused of having assaulted a Providence College security guard. Other Christian churches have been vandalized or damaged by fire in recent weeks, notably St. John's Episcopalian Church in Washington, D.C. on May 31st and June 22nd, and Harmony Baptist Church in Rogersville, Missouri on July 5th. So it says on June 26th, the American president signed an executive order. This is a Canadian website, that's why it's saying the American president. The American president signed an executive order demanding that jail terms be handed out to people who desecrate public monuments, according to White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. The order, I find it hard to pronounce her last name for some reason. The order directs the federal government to prosecute anyone who damages or defaces religious property and to withhold support from the state and local governments that do not protect public or religious property from harm. McEnany's statement recognized that for 5 weeks there has been a sustained assault on the lives and properties of Americans by rioters, arsonists, and left-wing extremists trying to force an anti-American ideology upon the wider public. President Trump will never allow violence to control our streets, rewrite our history, or harm the American way of life. And, you know, I'm not Catholic, but, you know, I'm not for the defacing of any church or place of worship, because if their rights are violated, then my right could be violated or my church burned down. So, yeah. I am really glad that President Trump is very proactive about this stuff, and he takes it seriously. And he should, but we know that the presidents before him probably wouldn't have. In fact, I think we can probably be assured that they wouldn't have. All right, let's go back, see what else we can get into. I don't have too much longer here. I'm going a little bit... let's see. Let's look at this. This is something that'll make you go. It'll make you want to spit. Schiff, after Trump is gone, we will continue to investigate and expose what he did. This guy's never going to give up. Never going to give up. I mean, Trump is the most investigated man probably on the face of the earth, and they haven't found anything. I'm not saying he's a saint. I'm not saying that he's never done anything wrong, but if they haven't found it by now, do you really think they're going to? Because how many people have been searching? So let's listen to Schiff.
You have to get a tattoo of a politician on your back. You are offered Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. Who do you get? You have 4 seconds to decide.
Are you really going to open up that fight?
No, not. Joining us today, he is my congressman. He's also the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Please welcome back Adam Schiff.
It's great to be with you.
So thanks for taking the time. You know, the past week, a lot of this broke at the end of the week, but I really wanted to talk to you about it. So in the wake of the Roger Stone commutation, you basically made the argument that the remedy is the election. I totally appreciate that. I agree with that. Everything should be focused on that way of holding Trump accountable and saving the country. But I actually just wanted to talk to you a little bit
by the way,
about what you're imagining happening after. And as much as we need to focus on the election, the one area where I think I actually just don't know what happens. You know, let's say we are fortunate enough to do what we have to do to defeat Trump. We have these rulings that mean we're not getting tax returns till maybe next year. How do you imagine your role in looking back when Trump is gone, if Trump is gone, to make sure we get to the bottom of what happened, that we undo some of these cover-ups, that we look into some of the ways in which Bill Barr tried to subvert the justice system? What is your sort of overarching goal next year to make sure we don't let some of these crimes just pass us by?
Well, I would say a few things. First, I would say that between now and the fall, our goal has to be exposure of all the wrongdoing. Let the people see what they have in Donald Trump, how much corruption there is, in the people around him, expose that to the sunlight, because we know the Republicans aren't going to take action to hold anybody accountable. They proved that during the impeachment when we presented
there was no evidence
of other abuses of power. So up until November, I think exposure of wrongdoing. After the election, after he's gone, then I think we have to continue to expose what he did while he was in office, because, of course, the administration has stonewalled us in every way it can. It has stonewalled every...
So the reason I wanted to play that for you is this. They have literally tortured this man, President Trump, since he decided to run, and they have investigated him, before even day one. They started investigating him. And it's just one thing after another, that they throw at him. And I like that saying that he's Teflon Don, because nothing has stuck to him. Nothing. And yet, instead of leaving him alone, they're saying, well, even after he's gone, we're going to continue to investigate him. They don't plan on ever leaving this man alone. Ever giving him peace. And that, to me, is very, very sad. Says, he added, so we're going to persist with that litigation. We hope that we can get it this year. If we don't, we'll continue until we do. So he's not saying, well, we're gonna try and find if there's any wrongdoing or whatever. No, he's saying we're gonna persist with the litigation, whether or not he did anything wrong, and we're just going to continue to keep trying until something sticks, basically, is what he's saying. He is a nasty somebody. And let's look at this, because this is the new narrative, is that Trump won't leave office willingly. That is the new narrative. So Pelosi, whether he knows it yet or not, Trump will be leaving the White House, even if he has to be fumigated. Could you imagine Speaker of the House talking about the President of the United States in that manner? Like, I don't know, could she possibly sink to any further depths? I'm just wondering. I mean, I'd be shocked if she could, because this woman is incorrigible. So I'm sorry to do this. I always seem to be playing Nancy Pelosi right before bed, and you poor guys. I'm not trying to torture you, really.
And in the interview with Chris Wallace, he did not confirm whether he would leave, whether he would accept the results of the election if he lost. What do you make of that?
Well, that's a lot of question there about coronavirus, what we do about it. But the fact is, whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we won't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm second in line to the presidency, and just last week I had my regular continuation of government briefing. This might interest you because I say to them, this is never going to happen. God willing, it never will. But there is a process. It has nothing to do with if the certain occupant of the White House doesn't feel.
What the heck? She's got her eyebrows drawn all the way down to here. I just noticed that, and I'm like, because I was thinking, what the heck is that? It's her eyebrow. I guess, I don't know. This woman's not well.
Feel like moving and has to be fumigated out of there because the presidency is the presidency. It's not geography or location. So much for him. I wouldn't spend so much time on it. That's a victory for him, because then we're not talking about your first more important subject, which is what are we going to do to stop this vicious virus that is making an assault on our health, again, our lives,
the vicious virus.
Life of our democracy. In the HEROES Act, we have $3.6 billion for vote by mail. This is very, very important.
She's pushing vote by mail.
What is needed in our country. And
you know, these people become more and more transparent. Every day that goes by, they're more and more transparent. And you notice how she's saying, I'm second in line for the presidency. And just, this week I had she's a continuation of government, or a continuity of government. And they do have those briefings, because if anything happens to President Trump, Mike Pence becomes president. If anything happens to him, then Pelosi becomes president. That should terrify everyone. Really. I mean, that would be, I don't know which would be worse, Joe Biden or her. I don't know. It would be a toss-up, wouldn't it? Anyway, I'm not going to play more of her, because I don't want to have nightmares. All right. So I think I better stop. I do have more things here. Let me see if there's anything that really, really can't wait till tomorrow. Oh, yes. I gotta get to this, okay? Gotta get to this. Video, cops hip check Maxine Waters after she jumps out of her car to oversee traffic stop of black man. Now, in all the interviews she does, she's now wearing a mask, but I guess when she's out and about like that, no mask. Another pointless PR stunt by a worthless Democrat that helps no black person anywhere. No, she's never helped any black person ever, and she doesn't much care to either. But let's take a look at this. Maxine Waters pulled off a typical Democrat PR stunt recently when she dramatically jumped out of her car after just happening to drive by a black man being stopped by police. Waters decided she had to help a brother out and supervise the traffic stop in order to make sure the black man wasn't abused or killed by police. Would she do it for a white man? Because actually, what is all over me? I've got crumbs or something on me. I don't even know what I've been eating. Something crummy, apparently. Anyway, yeah, like, would she do the same thing for a white man? Because actually, statistically, more white people are killed by police than blacks. So, anyway, she decided she had to help a brother out. So, that's not it. Meanwhile, her district is a hellhole of violence, drugs, poverty, and hopelessness. It's so bad, as a matter of fact, that Auntie Max doesn't even live in her district. No way. She lives in a super rich white neighborhood, a ways away in a sprawling mansion, far above all the hell and turmoil she happily does nothing about. But she does like to pull off PR stunts in her sad district. However, things went south for superhero Granny Max when cops hip-checked her and told her that she was illegally parked and was about to get a ticket. Womp womp. Ha ha ha. Congresswoman Maxine Waters is like the sheriff to the sheriff because she happened to be on a traffic stop involving a black man and stopped to make sure cops stayed in line. The legendary representative was driving in her district this weekend when she saw an LA County Sheriff Patrol car. She saw the officers in the process of detaining a black man, and that's all the info she needed. Meanwhile, Maxine hit the brakes and jumped out. Apparently, she was not particularly well received because the Congresswoman says the deputies told her she parked illegally, so she was in danger of getting a ticket. You can watch the video below. And we will. We will, dang it. All right. Are you ready? Let's make this bigger here.
You pull it over! Right. Okay.
They say I'm in the wrong place, they're going to give me a ticket. That's okay. As long as I watch it.
Gotta do what they gotta do, make sure.
All right. Bye, Maxine. Good luck.
Yep, there she is. Unreal. But maybe instead of pulling off a lame and pointless PR stunt, Maxine should actually do something worthwhile to help the people of her district. Because this crap here is nonsense that just does nothing to help a single black American in her dilapidated, dangerous, hopeless district. He's right. What has she done? She doesn't even care about the people in her district. She cares about her pocketbook. She cares about, her little family, and that's it. Us four, no more. Okay, well, you know what? I think I better wrap it up because this video is getting long. I will bring the rest of this tomorrow, along with anything else that I find interesting. I do want to talk about this reset that is definitely coming. It is definitely coming. In fact, next year's Davos meeting, or World Economic Forum that's held in Davos, is called the Great Reset. There is an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. So this reset is being necessitated, so says they, on COVID. The COVID is necessitating this reset, and it's just being used for this reset. But and some of you may think this is a good idea, and may disagree with me. I do not think this is a good idea because, well, it sounds like a good idea. It really does. But we're gonna visit this more in depth. But I wanted you to know that that is what the World Economic Forum, the next meeting, and when is that? I think it's next year, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, that's their that's what it's going to be about. The Great Reset. So we're going to look at that maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. Tomorrow's going to be one of those days for me because I have to do some things for my parents, but I will be doing a show tomorrow, and so we may visit it then. I think I've done most of the research on it, so should be able to bring it tomorrow. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much, you guys that are sticking with me. I really appreciate it. I really do. I'm hoping that I haven't lost my regulars. I'm really hoping that because I enjoy hearing from you guys, and I've kind of grown to know you over the time that I've been doing this, and I really hope that you guys are still here with me. But it is what it is. So anyway, let's plan on a video tomorrow, and I'll cover probably the news and another video if I can. I may not have an opportunity to do 2 videos tomorrow, but if not, then I'll try to do that on Wednesday. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. You guys stay safe, stay well, please, and stay blessed, and keep seeking truth. Because as you know, and I know, deception bites. Good night, guys.